follow is a picture of old Mona Mona back in the early 1950s while I was superintendent there. It was taken on silent 8mm. The old silent 8mm is not available, and which film is very old. And the old projector that I own is very old also, and we had to go to a lot of trouble to rebuild this projector in order to copy that film onto this video. And the first part of the video is the Italian film company which came to Mona Mona to make a film of primitive Aboriginal affairs, activities, and I let them do that on condition that I could copy over their shoulder with my own camera. And the film which we have following, the first part of it, is that film which was mocked up at Mona Mona. Deceased, you saw lighting the fires there, is the only relative left, and she lights the fires in order to frighten away the evil spirits. The body is buried or left on a platform, it was in those days, and you saw the platform there. You'll see it again in a moment. And there is the daughter of the deceased with her spear and shield, and she's the last one to leave the scene. It's customary for that next of kin to be the last to leave the scene. The tribe have moved back, and you see them on the hill there, while that next of kin remains for a little longer, lingers for a little while at the burial scene. There she goes now. She's left and is going up the hill to catch up to the rest of the tribe. Has left her spear and shield behind. You'll see those in a little while. She stops here and glances back for a bit while the tribe move on a little bit further, and then she leaves again finally and hurries to catch them up. There's her shield and her spear left forever with the deceased. We move on now to a scene, a turtle catching scene, as it was in the primitive days of the people. For those of you who know these people, that this is Dick Bing, the late Dick Bing. Dick is gone now, and the girl at the grave a while ago was Doretta Hobler. Doretta, of course, is a grown woman now. As Dick got his turtle, he caught one too many, so he let one go. This was a dance of some kind. They did these dances in primitive times before they went hunting, I believe, and these were dances to prepare for hunting. That was Colin Mont you saw there, painted up. This is another one of the hunting dances they did. I've just forgotten what they called it at the time. But of course the Mona Mona people have long forgotten all this. This was a reenactment, just a reenactment for a foreign film. It's another one of the dances. While one of the other natives has a drink out of one of the lagoons. And of course in old times, to make shelter for themselves, they cut bark off trees. They didn't have modern tomahawk like he has, but they cut it somehow. We return now to the mission. People were always standing around at store opening time. The uniform you just saw go in was our police uniform. That was Dick Bing, or Dick Collins, as a matter of fact. Very tall policeman. The staff are waiting on the customers there. This was after they had learned to use money, as I talked to you about a while ago, and they were doing their own shopping. A lot of the Cairns people used to donate fruit and that kind of thing. The fruit shops would donate a case of fruit that was going off a bit, donate it to the mission. They were very good that way, and that what you just saw was the apple distribution for the day. That was Lynn Hobler on his motorbike just went past, and the kids with their apples in their hands now are taking off back to school again. This was the old rainmaker. This is old Willie Courtney. He was the witch doctor, as a matter of fact. Not all those on Monomona were Christian people, and old Willie wasn't. He was the local witch doctor, responsible for quite a lot of bone pointing, if I can put it in those terms. He was the rainmaker, and here you see him go down to the bank of the creek and wet his hands in the water and call for the rain. I don't remember whether it rained that day or not. We had a very nice brass band, a group of 24 players who could all read music and handle their instruments very well. Quite a number of girls also playing, had a white uniform and a red tie. We used to take them travelling up to the tablelands, playing at Ravenshoe and Herberton and places like that. They bought their own instruments. That's Lynn Hobler. Lynn will be a much older man now. I haven't met him since 1955 or thereabouts. That's one of the Cannon boys on the euphonium or baritone. Gordon Donahue on the cornet. I think Enoch Tranby. Yes, Enoch Tranby on a cornet also. That's one of the Cannon boys, I think. There were two Cannon boys in the band. That's probably two of them you're looking at now. Florrie Hudson, if I remember rightly, also playing a cornet or a horn. Bobby Williams, the drummer, the late Bob Williams. I understand Bobby's gone now. I hadn't seen him for a long time. These people are so interested in music that they had a boys' band. This is a group of boys who used to get together and play pieces of stick, and one of them used to conduct, and they'd sing. The logging department was carried on by a Caterpillar dozer that we had, Caterpillar crawler at the time. I'm sorry I've forgotten. I remember the man who's driving that. He was a police constable also, but I can't remember his name. They're loading logs. That's Arthur Snyder. Arthur Snyder in the background with a white shirt on. Arthur was suffered from leprosy, Hansen's disease, and if you could see close, you'd see his fingers mutilated, several fingers missing. That's him bending down, putting the rope under the log. I think that's Black Mountain in the background. You'll see a better view of Black Mountain in a moment, I think. I think we're back at the mill now, and they're knocking the chocks out to drop the logs off the truck. Trying to think of the name of the lad who drove that truck. Viv. There's Black Mountain. Viv's name escapes me. We had a lot of tourists come to Monomona, and this was a tourist day when the Pioneer buses used to come in, and the crowds of people used to come and welcome them and wave them goodbye again as they left. And of course in the afternoon, when there was time was slack, they used to have their own football game, bung rules, or whatever you'd call it. That's Joan Tooth. You might remember. I'm mentioning these names because a lot of you people who see this will recognise some of these people. This was the school photo being taken. That's our bunch of school children. Brother Roy Sterling was the photographer that day. Now we move out to the pineapple patch. I think Arthur Snyder was the man with the pump there, pumping the poison onto the weeds. And I'm not sure who the other man was. I can remember the fellow. Archie Collins, I believe. Archie Collins, I think it was. I don't know whether we see him again or not. I doubt it. But I think that was Archie Collins. Dick Bing, or Dick Collins' brother. And of course our school was inspected by the Adventist school inspector, who at that time was Pastor Ben McMahon. Ben McMahon came up to inspect the school, and Gaynor Gillum, Miss Gaynor Gillum was the junior teacher. I think Pastor Dave Hay is now ordained now. Pastor Dave Hay was the schoolmaster, and Miss Gaynor Gillum was a second teacher. I don't know what Pastor McMahon's wife thought about the knees of his pants when he got home after climbing up there. I'm sorry for those flickers. That's our old projector, which is very dilapidated. Gave a flicker or two. There's Black Mountain back there, and the roofs of some of the houses in the background. And It was cattle dipping time now. Here are the boys in the yards pushing the cattle up to get them through the dip. They're not in very good condition, and if you see the eyes of the old bull there, a lot of the hair's missing from around his eyes. The flies, bot fly, I think it was bot fly or buffalo fly, used to give them quite a caning at times, and that's a lot of reason for the dipping. We run, I've forgotten how many head of cattle, but we had about 6 or 7 square miles of country and run a lot of cattle there. This is branding time. If it had been video I took this with, I'd have taken that picture off, because these boys made a disgraceful job of throwing that animal. They can do a lot better than that. They were just playing the fool there, but it was film, and you can't do that with film. And she belongs to Monomona Mission, 9mm for keeps. The people used to go walk about at Christmas time. They'd go in the truck, a truckload of them down to the river to camp during the Christmas period. And of course they're great sportsmen, and I think for quite a few moments now, a few minutes, you'll be entertained by buck jumping and various sports. We had a lot of white people used to come into the mission on these sports days, fellas who thought themselves good riders, who couldn't ride as well as our fellas by any means. I think the next ride you'll see, yes, this young white man gets a horn in the eye. Here it comes. No, I'm sorry, it's the next one. Must be the next bullock. He's a white fellow visiting. Watch this get wiped out. Yes, a young white fellow there was riding, and he gets this horn in the eye. There it is. My blood still runs backwards when I see that, and that was a long time ago, 1955. I know this young fellow, I've forgotten his name. I'm very sorry, I've forgotten his name. This is Gordon Donahue, playing games with this bullock. Gordon's all over it, no trouble at all riding this. He was one of the best riders on Monomona, if I remember rightly. I still do remember a lot of these boys. And we're back at the mission, back at the shop, I should say. Not at the shop itself, but at the bakehouse. Our 2 bakers were Percy Courtney and Gray. Forgotten his Christian name. Gray. Percy Courtney and Gray. Aboriginal, both Aboriginal boys, and they baked a couple of days a week for the people. This is the notice on our own office front advertising the sports day. There's the band on the march. That was in the heyday of Monomona. A lot of the sports were held in the school grounds and the open ground between the school grounds and the stockyards. That's George Kidner, also a police constable. A very good little tracker, George. I reckon I can track as good as a lot of Aboriginals, but I don't think I could keep up with George. He was a very sharp-eyed little fella. And they grease the pole, ready for a greasy pole walk. I don't think we see that. We don't quite see it. We go back to the buck jumping again. That one didn't buck anyway, he bolted. Now this was a white fellow who came in for the day and couldn't ride for nuts. That bullock was reared as a poddy on a bucket, and he wouldn't buck either. So the boys were very anxious to get onto him because he didn't buck so hard. Some of the ones that couldn't ride so well, I mean to say. Gordon Donahue again, I think, on the horse, off the horse now. He's off too. And he's off. Now they caught that calf again. They reckon he didn't do a good enough job. They caught him again to give one of the other kids another ride. At the wood chop, Trying to think of the name. Hudson, yes. Victor Hudson, there he is. Victor Hudson was the winner of this wood chop. That's Vic, you can see there now. There he is. Vic's the champion for the day. Give us a look at that blade of that axe, Vic. Is that axe sharp? You'll see over the top of the people here Rosie Grogan. There she is, pointing. One of the girls pointing there was Rosie